Our first track is really close to town, so after a short drive out, we arrived. But the drive out to Rover Trail might be the only short thing we do today. I haven't driven this end of the track for a while, but gee, by the looks of it, we might be in for a bumpy ride. And straight away we are into it. Rover Trail. And this northern end of the track is pretty interesting and challenging. So immediately I've hit a nice stretch of rocks and I'm gonna have to drop this vehicle into low range. But first, I'm gonna have to lower the tyre pressures. So we aired down to 24 PSI and got ready to tackle this mean looking trailhead. But before we jumped back in the Fords, we felt it wise to get out on foot to see what we're up against.
These are these kind of tracks where it's all about picking your line and committing. Having diff locks and capable vehicles like these fleet of Fords that we're driving really helps. And it also helps for the confidence, because I think you need to be confident to tackle tracks like this. But the fact that this is a stone's throw from the beach we were just on, ridiculous, absolute insanity. Coffs, you've done well.
Drop the diff lock in there. Let's go for a climb. Oh wow. I once took a camper trailer up this track. It was challenging, definitely challenging at the time, but I would not take a camper trailer up here nowadays. No siree. Wow. Already losing a bit of traction there, and I've got the rocker on it even. Awesome. Let's take another line. Whoa, that is gnarly as.
Patsy, your rear quarters is dangerously close, mate.
Wow, thank you, mate. This is a bit more challenging than what I had expected.
2 seconds in and it's already absolute insanity. I love this stuff. Let me check my heart rate. It's 108. This smile, this is a smile you can only get from four-wheel driving.
I'm going to drop a few more pounds out of these tyres before we attack the rest of this track.
Rightio, we are aired down, the lockers are on, I'm in 4 low and I've done my nervous wee. I think I'm ready. The good thing here is that Pat and I are running different wheelbases, so say it's a good thing. I could get stuck where the majority of vehicles have their wheels and he could cruise through, or it could be different for this track, and it's really a case of taste it and find out. This is the gnarliest track I've ever seen happen this early. Generally you wheel to them, then it gets hard. This is just hard from the get-go.
Okay, my rear locker is in. Let's see if I can take a better line this time. Let's stay to the left. And she sails up that time. It is all about the line. It doesn't hurt having a bit of under-vehicle protection on these tracks like that, folks. Because this is rocky, this is gnarly, this is fun, but not for the faint-hearted. Oh wow. Ooh, I think I'm going to need a guide for this next bit.
Ooh, nicely driven, Patsky. Let's just remember, this is not my four-wheel drive.
Mate, this track is the definition of gnarly.
Isn't it? And we're at 5 seconds in.
So I'm thinking here, thankfully some lovely Coffs local has built us a track here. So I reckon, what do you think? We start up on the left-hand side here on that log, jump onto that one, and hopefully our right-hand tyre can actually make it up, so we're staying on high ground the whole way.
Yeah, I think when you look at it, it looks a bit impassable, but yeah, we'll hug left. I'll guide you onto this one so you don't split the logs, and I reckon you'll be all gravy.
Awesome.
Just don't hold it against me if I lead you into a tree.
A few people have, hey? See the witness marks on that? Oh dear.
It's not just the witness marks, there's some broken glass down there too.
Yes. So if you hit that bottom part of the tree there, the roots, does that mean that you're rooted?
It means I'm rooted and probably fired. I think if I hit the bottom part of the tree there, I'll just stop and go home.
Okay, let's go.
Honestly, I reckon you're going to be all right. I'll head this way, mate, and we'll get you up.
Well, the track has deteriorated significantly since I last drove this. It was a challenging track last time, but I actually dragged a trailer up over it. There's no chance you could take a trailer up it now. So we are going to still attempt to drive this, and we'll do a bit of track building. We'll just have to pull out the four-wheel drive toolkit, which is having a guide out front on the CB radio. And we're really trying to look after the cars as we do this. Tracks like this, it's about driving them as slow and gently as you can while still maintaining traction. And it's all about getting the right line. So we'll see how we go.
Okay, mate, your right-hand wheel is on the log. Just hold that line for me.
Try as I might, I run out of traction. With the Everest panels sitting precariously close to some sharp rocks, I had to devise another plan.
Okay, so she's not going any further here. So in this situation, you could track build a bit more. We could try again, and we might have some success. But the challenge you have in this situation when you're doing things like track building, you are track building. It's not necessarily stable ground. So if you hit the gas, sometimes these logs, these rocks can get spat out and drop you next to an obstacle and damage your vehicle. We've got a big tree on our left-hand side here, so I don't want to damage the car. So when you pull the winch out, you get a much slower recovery going, and it's a lot more controlled. We're going to add a little bit of complexity to this, and we're going to use a technique called the slingshot winch. We're going to pretend that this vehicle doesn't have a winch, but the car behind me does, and that is going to show you something that you might be able to use out here on the tracks.
Alrighty, now we're at the business end of this recovery. First things first, we need to put our tree trunk protector around the tree. Nice big broad strap, and you can actually see on this tree that people have winched right here before me. So the tree is still standing and still healthy because we haven't damaged it with a skinny cable. Okay, so we even her up there, and here's where it gets interesting. Okay, thanks mate. Okay, so now we're running the cable through the snatch block. This is just a pulley basically, so that is going to help us move that angle from the Ranger up to the tree and back down to the Everest. So we now need to secure this to the tree trunk protector with a shackle. Pop the pin in there, as we always do with these shackles, all the way in, and then a quarter turn just to stop them from binding up. Okay, now you look at this and you say, okay, there's a lot of weight here, so if anything breaks, there is the potential for projectiles to go into all sorts of strange places. So what we want to do is to put our cable dampener over this area here, and hopefully that will create somewhat of an air brake if one of these parts breaks. The good thing is these are all rated, in fact very well overrated. That's at 8 tonne, the shackle is stamped and rated at 4 3/4 tonne. So you've always got to make sure that you use proper rated recovery shackles, not just hardware store shackles. They will break and become projectiles.
So with one last check over the gear, we were ready to winch.
Okay mate, well we've cleared the area. I think it's time to get winching.
Let's do it, mate. If you're happy, I'm going to start. Jesus, that VRS pulls fast. This is gnarly. Go. Stop. You're close on the rear quarter there, mate.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, let's. I'm not hitting though, but I think I probably will, given the angle that we're being pulled at. So we might repo off another tree and move to a straighter pull. Or I might even be able to drive this if I disconnect. What do you think?
I'm just worried that your front right's pretty much in the air, and it looks like you might clip that rear quarter. So if you're happy, mate, let's go for another meter or so.
Yep, let's go for it.
Let's do it. I love these wireless remotes. Takes all the guesswork out.
Awesome, and we're home and hose, mate. Thank you. You can let her out now. I am secure and away from that tree.
That worked so well. The logs became like rails for you. Let's clean this up.
And so, with the Everest out of trouble and the track ahead looking even worse, we decided the safer option was to spare the cars and head back down. Which, as you'll soon see, was not without its own risks. Now, navigating the Everest back down to safety, but that hole full of logs is looking like it's going to prove a challenge once again.
Now start turning in to pick up these logs.
The Everest was now sliding into exactly the same hole on the way down as it was on the way up. Damage looked imminent, with gravity dragging me closer and closer to the rocks and tree roots. And so began our second recovery of the day. This time, we needed to pull the tail of the Everest away from the obstacle. So, with the VRS whipped out once more, this time we attached it to the back end.
That's beautiful, mate. You have dragged the back end around nicely. So now I'm just going to put her into drive, and I'll just let you lower me down the hill, and that'll hopefully keep me on the right side of the track. Am I going to pick up that log soon, do you reckon?
Let me sit my head out. Yeah, so it's on the log is on the outside of your side wall. You're about to sort of steer onto it.
Gotcha. I've got my head out now. I can see it. Beauty. Thanks, mate. Well, I'll just start to drive forward a touch, and if you can just gently lower me, we'll keep the tension on.
Sure, mate. What I'm going to do is I'll stay off the air and I'll just listen to what you're saying and do as you say. This is what you want to be doing at 29 degrees. This is a massive wind sesh.
My steering's locked. I can't move it to the left for some reason.
Yeah, I reckon that log would be blocking your steering there. If we keep letting tension out, you're going to roll up onto it. Looking beautiful.
Beautiful, mate. Smashing it.
It's looking good.
I think I'm out of trouble now. We can probably let the... trying to let all the slack out in that, and I'll just see if I can just drive her out onto the hard.
Yeah, sure thing. Speaking of out of trouble, do you promise not to yell at me? I've staked the tyre.
I forgive you.
Our morning just got a little longer. Josh managed to puncture a tyre on the Ranger, so So he's going to have to carefully roll it backwards down the track to more level ground if he wants to get a new tyre on.
This is a day of absolute carnage.
We gingerly turned the Ranger around, threw on the spare tyre, and then made our way towards the other end of the Rover Trail to see if it was a little less precarious. And while the other end of the track is steep, it was far easier than the northern end. A beautiful drive.
Now, as you would have seen from that little obstacle before, the northern end of this track is a little bit hairy and a little bit challenging, and definitely not for everyone. So, if you still want to experience this track, just attack it from the southern end. It's a lot easier, it's a lot flatter. It is still very steep. You still may need your differential locks and all that sort of stuff to get up there, but you can try out this track and see if you like it, and then spin around and go straight back the way that you came. Not a bad option. How are these beautiful Xanthorrhoea, mate? The grass trees. They're cranking, aren't they?
They're bloody massive. Nice little addition to this gnarly track. They're bringing me a bit of a sense of calm, which I think we needed.
It's a hell of a track, this one, isn't it?
Not what I was expecting at all, to come, you know, just a stone's throw from the beach you're on, and then straight into absolute gnarliness, diff locks, low range. But a pretty welcome change from some of the dirt tracks and stuff like that. I've been really enjoying it. I love this technical form of driving.
Oh, that's right, and I do like the fact that on this end of the track it's just calming down, so you can just kick back and enjoy the scenery, because technical's great for short stints, but calm is good too.
Yeah, my heart rate's right down. I'm just enjoying some of these gorgeous views. It seems like we're just climbing up and up and up, so I'm assuming at some point we must go down.
Yeah, we certainly will, mate, but when we get up the top here, you will peer off to the left and you're going to see some beautiful glimpses of ocean.
My oath, this is why we do it.
The southern end of the Rover Trail is probably best defined as something that's a little bit more difficult than your beginner track, something more intermediate, I would suggest. But it is a great time to stretch out the legs of your four-wheel drive, its suspension, and also try out a few things like hill descent control, because you are going to need that while you are cruising up and down these hills, or at the very least your low range gearing. I would not attempt this track in a vehicle like an all-wheel drive that lacks the gearing advantage that we have in these dual range 4x4s.